This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening. This is Jim Marshall. This is the 1st of July. This is the AnCan Foundation's Veteran Support Group. And I'd like to give some thanks to Johnson & Johnson for supporting them with the video aspect to it and all of the people that attend and help us out, including Colonel Boykin. Hey, sir, anyway. And Colonel, the thing I got to do first is make you a organizer just in case my internet has a problem. It will not kill the session. And Causley snuck in at just under the wire. Hey, Causley, how you doing there, guy? Can you hear us? I don't know if you can hear us, Causley.
Oh yeah, Causley's here. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Do you
Hey,
have,
gentlemen, how we doing? Everybody doing all right?
something to bring up?
I do not. No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
Colonel Jordan, is there anything to bring up for you? Or you just here to support all of us?
I'm just here to support everybody tonight, but thank
okay.
you all.
Okay, I thank you very much. Okay. And Bill O'Brien snuck in too right at the beginning. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Is there anything to bring up?
A couple of things, yes.
Okay, good. We got a few things. Okay, we're going to start off with John Halstead. I know that you and I have been working on some things, and you want to know the next steps, and I want to know how far along are you?
Okay, well, I've been gone for most of the time that between when we talked face to face and now.
Right.
So I really haven't made much progress. I've done some research, but I had a couple of questions, and ultimately what the next step should be.
Okay, you can pose the questions here, and we'll just try to answer a couple.
Okay, all right. For
exactly where you are in the process.
Okay. Just for background, I mean, obviously Jim and I have talked about it, but the rest of you, don't know. But I had prostate cancer in 2014, and a couple of weeks ago, Jim mentioned that even though I retired in 1999, that because I'd served at Fort Knox, that there might be some service connection. So he got me started on a claim, and then, as I mentioned, I've been gone. So I've got the lab results, post-surgery lab results. I've done a little online research as far as the status of Fort Knox, but I had some questions about connecting the dots there, in particular, making it service connected. Do I need to, since I had 15 years between retirement and prostatectomy, do I need to fill in the gaps there with PSA results or primary care manager notes from my annual physicals, or anything like that?
Well, actually, the answer to that is no, because
Okay.
the VA will not pay you all the way back to 2015.
No, I just wanted to see if I needed to do that to establish service connection.
Well, now, the service connection is an interesting thing because I've been working with a gentleman that I think I've talked about, the Fort Knox draftee, that did he did basic AIT, a clerk school, diverted to Germany, got here to Fort Myer, and he got grabbed by a sergeant major, and he spent all of his time here, and now he's out in 1974. So It turns out we happened to stick in a claim for him, and I put together all kinds of scientific data that says that there's a link between trichloroethylene and prostate cancer. Well, the interesting part is they happen to process the claim, and they denied him for the prostate cancer, but surprisingly, they awarded him TERA, TERA, toxic exposure risk activity, which is the 100% free VA healthcare. Okay, the rest of his life. Now, in going over the claim, this was something that I was going to bring up probably at the end, but I can briefly talk about it. Most of you gentlemen probably have heard my pitch about how to put a claim together. In other words, somewhere in the narrative, there is nothing out there that tells you how to actually present the claim. So I have a sort of a template and some examples about the way that I say that it ought to be done. And the thing I've been finding out, even though guys have done it my way, at the time that they get the determination back, it seems that the VA is not looking at all of the evidence that is being submitted, which kind of you scratch your head going, geez, I submitted all of this stuff, and the next question is, how do I know they didn't look at it? Bill, I think you had your hand up real fast here.
I did, but by accident, I just gave you a thumbs up reaction. I experienced
Yeah.
that myself.
Right. So the long and the short is, in the template that I say to use, the template says the first thing you do is to then introduce yourself. And then the next thing you do is to put a list of the files that you are going to submit, essentially upload to them. And that list has come out very handy at the time you get your determination, because generally they will give you a summary of what they are going to give you. And then in the next page, there is a list of the evidence that they used to adjudicate the claim. So the thing we did was to compare the list of the files that he submitted, and in fact, as a part of the quick submit upload, you can get confirmation of the files that you uploaded, and he uploaded 12 of them, and he has that. Well, in the evidence, about 7 of the files did not get listed in the evidence, which was very telling. So it was maybe oversight. I don't know if it was a computer error that did not put those into his claim or what. So at this point, we are going to go back to them with a supplemental claim. Now, the thing we also did, because the place that it gets dicey, since like you, John, you are not covered under the PACT Act.
Right.
Okay. So it isn't presumptive. And so the VA really hasn't ponied up and said trichloroethylene is known to cause prostate cancer. And so as I said, I got a number of scientific studies, etc. Well, I got an idea of there are VA citations out there, which are the results of a VA appeal. And I found like 8 or 9 of them. About 4 of them were for Camp Lejeune, so I ruled those out because that's a special case. And so there are these appeals that will grant service connection for prostate cancer caused by trichloroethylene. Okay? Now, you might think that that would be sufficient, but at the bottom of all of these VA citations, the judge puts in a statement that says, just because I ruled this to be true, it should not be taken as precedence. Okay? Which means that if those judges are not allowed to make VA policy decisions. Now, the way that you can get around all of this stuff, and in fact we have done it, is for you to get a doctor. And what we did was to present this information, these scientific reports, to his prostate cancer doctor, who happens to be a genitourinary medical oncologist. And we showed that doctor all of these scientific reports. And in fact, he found another one I didn't find. And so he wrote a nexus letter that said, in his opinion, Bob's prostate cancer was as likely as not caused by his exposure to trichloroethylene. So if you can get a doctor, it would sure help.
Okay.
Because if you don't get it, then in the reading of the citations, if you read enough of them, there's a part that says if the evidence is more in favor of the veteran, no matter what the CNP examiner might say, it has to be awarded within the favor of the veteran. And all of these were that I've got, and I do have those. Okay, Bruce, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
How much of an exposure do you need? Is it an incidental exposure? Is it a daily exposure? Is it?
Well, under the PACT Act, all that you need is to have had boots on the ground. In other words, if you were on a plane and it landed in Kuwait and you stepped off the plane to get a Coke, okay, you had boots on the ground. Now, if it's over here in the States, it seems to me it's generally 1 month on the base. And just because you were on that base, you do not have to prove you were exposed, because the VA happens to use this thing called, it is as likely as not, just because you were on that base and the toxic chemicals were there, which probably got down essentially into the ground, into the water wells, into the water fountains, and you drank it. So it's generally a month on that base, like if you were there on a TDY. So that's the thing I believe. Now, I could be wrong, because I've never seen anything that says you have to have X amount of days. Okay?
That's very interesting because that would almost be like a strict liability standard.
Well, okay.
You were there and it was there and
That's
therefore.
right. It's called "It Is as Likely as Not." Okay,
It's
causally.
fascinating.
Yes, it is. Causally, you
Yeah,
have your hand up.
yeah, Jim. I just have a follow-up question to this as
Okay.
likely as not statement. Am I to understand then that regardless of what the claim is, well, yeah, regardless of what the claim is, if you can get a professional to add that statement to your information, then that will outweigh the assessment of the CNP professional?
Uh, in general, yes, but you still should have some other information that says that whatever toxic material it was can cause what you are claiming, like you couldn't get asbestos for arthritis, okay? Because there really isn't a medical link there. So just,
But that statement that is as likely as not is a critical component of things. So if you can
yes,
get, it would be in your best interest to have that statement added somewhere along the way in your claim.
yes, actually, it's called essentially a nexus, and it's generally a nexus letter, or the thing they really want you to do is to have them fill out a VA form VBA-21-10210, which for a doctor to do that would be a pain in the butt, and I don't think they would do it. I mean, a letter has served me and a number of other guys perfectly well, and it's signed. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Tony Fig.
Yeah, just for
Okay,
clarification, you said John could upload all of these files, and you're referring to making a TERA claim, correct?
no, actually, this wasn't okay. In general, now, since TERA came in effect on the 5th of March of 2024, any Any claim you submit after that date will be then evaluated for TERA. Okay. And it turned out that his claim, his prostate cancer was denied, but they admitted and accepted the fact that he had been exposed to trichloroethylene on Fort Knox, and they awarded him TERA. Now, you might say, what happens if I put in a claim like 4 years ago and I should have TERA, like if you're only 20%, let's say you are 20%, which means that you only get health care for what you are rated for. But you now say, look, I was in Kuwait and I'm eligible for TERA. What do I do? Well, there is a form, a VA form 10-10-EZR, which changes your health status in the VA. So if you are interested, and let's say you're only 10, 20, 30, or 40, and you understand that you are entitled to TERA, then you would fill out that form and follow the instructions in the form. And it turns out that I believe the instructions say that you have to mail it someplace. There isn't anything that says you can upload it using Quick Submit. So that covers that animal. So as I like for if you stick in a supplemental claim, then I believe it will be looked at for TERA. Okay, John, so now we're back to you. Okay. That was a sort of a divergent thing, but it really does apply because if you could get your doctor to attest to that, okay, that in their opinion, and the thing I can do is to send you some of the scientific papers I've got. There's like 2 or 3.
Okay.
And I can even send you the VA citations I got like 5 of them that were appealed specifically for trichloroethylene. One was at El Toro Marine Base. I think there's another one. I think it was Fort Knox, and there's a couple of other ones.
Okay.
And so if the doctor will do that, explain to him that this is for a VA claim, we'll see what happens, because I haven't finished
All right.
the supplemental claim for Bob. I'm just about done, and so we'll throw it in again and see what's what.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, then I don't know if I sent you the list of the forms that you can get started on.
No.
Right, and with the one which is the interesting one is then adding your wife, and specifically you have to include the marriage certificate and any of the divorces that you had. I worked with a guy that he was divorced 3 times and she was divorced twice. Yes. So he was rounding up a lot of legal documents for that one.
Okay.
Bruce.
Help me out. What is that TERA acronym again?
Toxic exposure risk activity. That says that if you can contend that during your military service you were exposed to toxic materials, then there is a possibility that they will then award you 100% free VA healthcare. That is not money. That's over on the healthcare side of the VA, which can come in very handy, even if you don't use it, have it available. Like, I take it that you probably have private health insurance, or are you on TRICARE?
I'm on TRICARE.
Oh, okay. Well, still, TRICARE, as Joel found out, General Joel, may not cover absolutely everything, so you can go to the VA to get them to cover whatever TRICARE does not cover, or try to get the VA to cover that. So it's a handy thing to have in the back pocket.
Yeah,
okay?
I can see that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Jim Kavanaugh, what's up?
Yes, I've had a lot going on the last week since we spoke. I've been blown away by the fact I have MS on hand, and you had suggested that basically there was an exception that may apply to me.
Yes. In the healthcare side.
On the health side, yes.
Right.
But
on the healthcare side. Now, on the benefit side, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So the steps that I need to know is I wrote it down, and then I subsequently had two things going on. One is we dedicate a highway in New Jersey with a senator here, and I got all mixed up with that. And then the second thing was my printer went down, and I'm not a techie. So I've lost some of the information that I wrote down religiously. So I'm stupidly asking the same question again.
Oh, no problem at all.
So there was a service that basically, there was a step that I had to make, and then it's good for a year. So I had to send something to the healthcare side.
Well, either that, I think you're talking about, well, no, wait. The thing I believe you're talking about, good for the year, is the intent to file. Is that?
Yeah, that was the word you used, intent to file.
And did you try to do that through a form, or did you just call them up on the phone?
I haven't done either yet because I get boxed up with these other things. So I'm starting from ground zero, but I want to.
Okay, well, tomorrow, pick up the phone and dial 800-827-1000.
827-1000.
Right, 800-827, and at the person you talk to, it's kind of like a VA help desk. Just say, I want to do an intent to file.
Got it.
And you do not have to tell them why, wherefore, how come, just intent to file. And what they will probably do is to send you a package of some forms, and you'll look at them for informational purposes. Because the thing that we'll do is we can start to talk to figure out if your MS might be tied to the work you did within and with the military. That's on the benefit side of the house, okay? To get money. But on the other side of the house, get the health care, at the time we stick in the claim, I'm pretty sure they will award you health care even if they deny the claim.
Got it.
Over on the benefit side. Okay?
Got it. Now mine also has another dimension to it. I learned from you guys because I was in Fort Knox in '66.
Oh, how long?
For the duration of boot camp. I can't even remember how much time it was in boot camp.
2 months. Did you do AIT there?
What's AIT? Apologize.
At Advanced Infantry Training?
No. Advanced Individual Instruction.
Okay. Well,
training. Advanced Individual Training.
Advanced. Well, back in the Vietnam days, I had been told it was Advanced Infantry Training because most of the folks were heading to Vietnam. But okay, advanced training.
No, I was a clerk and later a cook.
Oh, okay.
And I had AIT too, and I was never in the infantry. I was always in the artillery.
Oh, okay. The big guns. Wow.
The big gun. Self-propelled.
Right. Yeah. So, essentially, after Fort Knox, where did you go?
I basically was in a 6-year program. So I was in the Army National Guard.
Oh, so it was, okay. So you did 6 years in the National Guard?
Yes.
Okay, you are covered as a veteran. That is the minimum amount of time a National Guard person has to serve to be classified as a veteran in the VA.
Okay. Well, I did the full 6 years with the time in Fort Knox for the basic, and served in the National Guard in 4 or 5 different states.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be an interesting one to try to figure that one out, but this isn't the time for that. Okay, well, we got some work to do. I got to figure out because I've never handled a person that is going to claim MS for the healthcare only. But we'll see. It could be for both. I have to, that should be an interesting one. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, Cesar, are you still here or did you leave? Oh,
No, I'm online with.
there. Holy smokes. You are right smack in the center, and I did not even see you. Okay. What kind of questions you got here?
Well, I didn't really come with any questions. This is only my second here,
you
but
are the prostate cancer, right? Yep. Okay. Now
Okay.
okay, and are you covered under the PACT Act?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, fine.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, I've just been, I've attended a couple of other AnCan meetings and saw that the, veterans group. And I was kind of curious, is the purpose of this group, is it mostly to talk about benefits and things like that? Or
Oh, absolutely.
okay.
Well, benefits, healthcare. Also, if you are military retired, we can talk about that and the intersection between military things you get and the VA things you get and how they can be sometimes related, and plus an additional side benefit. If you are a federal civilian retiree and any of the other two, I worked at, OPM for 12 years, and I know the federal civilian healthcare retirement. And sometimes they can all intersect and help each other out. So,
And Jim, it sounds like you kind of help folks with benefits and disability claims and things like that. Is that?
Yep, that
Okay.
is so true. Yeah,
And is that something you do as a business, or is that just you kind of do it?
Well, no. Well, a business, no. This is all no charge. I do it for the fun of it. Everybody here is
Okay. I asked because I know
no charge
actually,
free.
And I know some of my own.
Just for the folks that could be viewing this, if on the first claim a veteran make, it is illegal for anybody to charge you any amount of money to assist you to do your first claim. Okay? They can go to jail. Now, after the first claim, if you hire essentially a lawyer or stuff, there are VA approved people that can help you. Like the states have a veterans office generally, and there are the lawyers, DAV, American Legion, VFW, etc., can assist you, but those are also generally no charge. So if you're interested, here we are. What do you want to do?
Well, no, I think I talked about this last time I was here. I just, I'm currently 100% for prostate cancer, but I mentioned that I had my a prostatectomy last month.
Right. Okay.
So I know
good.
there's typically, and this is, I guess, one of my questions, and this is something that I can pose here. I think is
Sure.
might help someone else. I know that there's a 6-month period, and I just talked to my urologist yesterday about this. She said that typically after 6 months, whatever symptoms you have post prostatectomy. Usually after 6 months, those symptoms might be long term, something that you live with for the rest of your life. Mostly within the 6 months is where they expect to see, all of the improvement. So my question is, I know that there's because I talked to my Nevada County VA representative here in California, and she mentioned that they that after 6 months you can do a submit for potential urinary incontinence, voiding dysfunctions, things like that.
Well, I don't think they are. Yes, you can do that, but you don't have. Well, it depends. Okay, now I take it that now, are you offhand covered under the PACT Act?
Yes.
You are. Okay, fine. Have you done essentially the intent to file?
For
establish the pay date for your VA claim. Your
the one I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So, and do you know the date of that?
Yes, I'd have to look at my records, but yes.
Okay. Is the date prior to you getting your biopsy, or is it after?
Oh boy, the first biopsy, right? You mean the first
biopsy that says you've got prostate cancer?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't know the specific. I don't have my records in front of me.
Okay. If the intent to file date is prior to you showing medical proof that you've got prostate cancer, your actually pay date will be the date of the biopsy, because that says, today I know I've got it. Okay. If your intent to file date is then after that date, let's say a month later, you lose a month's worth of disability because the intent to file date was done after the biopsy says he has.
I have a question, Jim.
Sure.
I don't know. That's kind of already behind me.
I know it's behind you, but it is important, trust me, to understand the whole process. Otherwise, you will get gypped out of probably $20,000 to $25,000. That's no big deal. We can go on, but I think most of the guys would say.
I guess what you're getting at is the fact.
Okay.
I guess that you're getting. Okay. I think I don't know if I keep cutting you off there, but so if I've been gypped, is there something
you will be gypped because you don't understand the process, and the person in Vegas doesn't understand the specifics of how your prostate cancer gets treated. That person probably knows the VA side of the house, which in the VA side, all surgeries, no matter what it is, you are then rated 100% for 6 months. Okay? At the end of 6 months, they assume you're healed and they want to then downgrade you.
I'd like to interrupt you. I don't mean to. I think that's hypothetical.
No, it is hypothetical. It's fact.
Specific. No, it's not specific to my case. I mean,
yes, it is. Yes, sir, it is. Your case is. Let's get to you, okay? you had surgery, right? And it was taken out on some date, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, what the VA is going to want to do 6 months from your surgery date, they will call you in for a CNP exam. You do not have to file for it if you have already filed the claim. And by that time, your claim should be submitted, let's say in the next month or two. Okay? It's in now.
Okay. Real quick question though.
Right.
You said after 6 months after
The surgery date,
you have to do a
according to the
and is that
not
Charlie November Papa?
what?
Charlie November Papa? Is that what you said, CNP?
That is compensation and pension exam. Okay. A Charlie ampersand Papa.
God.
Okay, now, but let's talk about this from the prostate cancer point of view, not the VA point of view. Okay? From the prostate cancer point of view, the prostate cancer treatment plan says that you will have surgery, and every 90 days you will get a PSA test. Have they told you that?
After yes, I have to go.
And those PSA tests will last for 1 year. 1 year, not 6 months, 1 year. So that's in your treatment plan. Now, let's go back to the VA aspect. As long as you are under treatment, you will remain 100% temporarily disabled, which means the VA normally wants to downgrade you at 6 months, but since your treatment plan says after the surgery, my treatment will continue for 1 year, you will remain 100% for 1 year. Okay? And
is that something that happens automatically, or is that
is the way from the prostate cancer point of view that they are treating you. Okay? Now, at the end of the 1 year, and if your PSA tests look good, now they will then cut you loose. And at that point in time, the VA will then want to downgrade you based upon residual effects of the prostate cancer surgery, like how many times do you get up in the middle of the night to go pee? And if you say 1 to 2, it will be like
30%.
20%. No, 20%. 3 to 4 is 30%. 5 to 6, I believe, is 40%. Or they will also ask you how many pads do you change in a day, meaning a 24-hour day. A lot of people think it's only a waking. No, this is a 24. If you say, I forget if it's 6 or more, you get 60%. Okay? So at that point in time, that's what happened. And most time they don't tell you what they are going to ask you. Well, the thing is, I have the questions they will ask you and the possible answers, so you can figure out what is an answer that is attributable to you, because they don't tell you, is this over a week? Could it be over 2 weeks? Is this over a month? Is this the average number? Is this the maximum? You know, is it on your, so the thing that you can do is to figure out what, now, personally speaking, okay, this is just me. I say it should be based upon worst case in a month, because a person ought to get paid not for the average aggravation they do, but for the worst aggravation they do. So it's up to you to figure out what applies to you.
Okay. And does this happen at the 1 year mark or at the 6 month mark?
No, if you tell them you are still under treatment, because they will bring you in at the 6 month point believing that your surgery is healed, man, everything is cool. And what you are prepared to tell them, look, I am still under treatment. My treatment has not ended yet. Because if you don't tell them that, they will assume your treatment has ended. And now they will start asking you, how many times do you get up in the middle of the night to pee, and how many pads? And you'll go, say, what? Oh, and you'll just throw out a number, and instantly you will be downgraded from 100% down to 20, 30, 40, and you will be scratching your head. But remember, your treatment plan says it continues for 1 year. Now, not to rain on the parade, but what happens if the PSA doesn't look good? Your treatment plan would continue, okay, for who knows, until
radiation
you are blessed and the urologist kicks you out. And then after that, if then the PSA goes up, the urologist is out of the picture. Then you're over into oncology. Okay?
Okay.
So does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. So at this stage, there's really, I guess, as far as preserving my current 100% disability status, there's really nothing I need to do at the 6 month mark.
No, because they will track you down, because they say, according to the VA, any surgery, you have hernia surgery, you have, whatever it is, you get 6 months to heal. They don't break out specialty for prostate cancer, et cetera, et cetera. It's just surgery in general. Okay?
Okay.
Now, have you actually filed a claim yet?
A new claim? That's the part that's confusing me.
What do you mean a new claim? So have you put in a claim for prostate cancer and also a secondary item, which a lot of people call ED, but you will never get anything for, because you don't have ED. That's dysfunction. We got malfunction, okay, which is a special payment under special monthly compensation under Public Law 38 USC 1114 subsection K. It's a special payment called loss of use of creative organ, and it will pay you an extra $136.06 a month. And that claim should be tied secondary to your prostate cancer treatment surgery.
At 6 months?
No, right now, because you had the prostate, you got loss of use of creative organ right now. You got it. It don't work, right?
Not as well as I'd like.
No, well, yeah. Either it works fine like it did, or it don't. Well, for us now, I didn't have surgery. I have been medically castrated. I've got no testosterone, or I got very little testosterone in the body, which means it don't work no more. So I get the extra money. I earned it.
I think the challenge here, Jim, and you know, I say the challenge because it seems like that there's really that SMC-K.
Right.
I looked, and there's no way to submit for
Yes,
that.
there is. Yes,
Something
there
that happens
is.
automatically.
Yes, there is. You
Okay.
submit that as a disability called loss of use of creative organ. Service connection is because you tie it to the prostate cancer surgery. And if you would like an example of that, I've done about 5 of them. Okay.
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
claim wise.
Oh, yeah. That would be helpful because I don't know. I don't know how to submit that prior to the 6 months.
Well,
After my
it's a
surgery.
claim. Now, as I said, have you ever submitted a claim for anything in the VA?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you're on, and what is your current disability rating other than the prostate cancer?
60 plus 10.
And is that so? It would be 64, which would actually be 60. Okay, because of the VA map. Now, do you have one that is 60% standalone?
Yes.
You get now another SMC, would you believe, under subsection S or Sierra.
Yes, the homebound.
Well, there are 3 entities in there, and they all call it homebound because of that's the thing they call it, because now you've got one that's 100%, right? One temporary. You've got a second one that is 60%. Therefore, that qualifies you for SMC subsection S, which is an extra 500 and I forget $15 a month. Then you also qualify for K. Now, are you saying that you get that today?
Yes, that was automatic.
Okay, but
What I don't get,
but
and this is where
you said you never filed a claim for the prostate cancer, or did somebody file it on your behalf?
sorry, I maybe I haven't been clear, and
Okay,
I apologize, you guys,
okay.
everyone else who maybe I confused as well. But yes, I filed a claim for prostate cancer
Okay.
some time ago, and
Oh,
got
okay.
back pay and then at 100%
Right.
for prostate cancer.
Okay.
And then
So,
on top of that, 60%,
right.
and on top of that, another 10%.
Well, actually, the 10% is at this point won't play, but the 60% and the 10% will play at the time that you get downgraded. Because let's say that you get downgraded to 40%, okay? So there'll be a 60, a 40, and a 10. Now, just so happens I have a VA calculator that will do the VA math. Do you speak spreadsheets at all?
No,
A little bit?
yes.
Okay, well,
use
just enough and way to
John.
fill in the numbers. You can then pretend as you have the 60, the 40, and the 10, and it will show you that you're probably going to get out of that probably 80, okay, in the VA math, so that's cool. Oh, now, so to stick in a claim for the loss of use of creative organ, tomorrow, call up 1-800-827-1000 and say intent to file. Okay?
Okay.
And then since this is a new claim, that will be a VBA 21-526EZ. And then I can send you the other one for the loss of use of creative organ that I've got a number of guys that have done surgery. Now, did they give you anything like Viagra or Cialis for blood flow?
Yes.
Okay, now let us talk about this from the VA perspective. Here sits an adjudicator, right? She doesn't know you, or it could be a she, he. They don't know anything about the prostate cancer, but they've seen the ads on TV for Viagra. Okay, and on your claims, it's, oh, he's taken Viagra, and he claims he can't do it anymore. Something's fishy here, right? Which to the layperson makes sense, but they don't understand that it isn't for you to perform anymore. It's just to keep. Therefore, in the claim part, I write, because in the part of it where you put down medications, have to be honest. You say, look, and you always use generic names. I say you use the generic name parentheses Viagra, or the other one is for Cialis, and then an explanation of why you have to take it and what it is not going to do for you. That will make sure they understand this is not for you to have a sexual tryst every night, okay? Because they could misinterpret it. So I already have that written out for a number of other guys that did not have any inkling that the VA has placed a value on us in the bedroom. So I already have it. So do I have your email address?
I don't think so, but I can put it in a chat.
Yeah, please do, and I can send you out that, and it would be very easy to create that in the next few days here. And all it is a 526EZ form, and then I don't like to use the 4138 form for any claims. I like to use the sworn statement, because I've been told a lot of the VA adjudicators believe that we are veterans and we're sneaky devils and we lie like crazy. And in a way, I don't blame them, because there's a lot of money to be had. 100% is, well, actually for you, Cesar, for a year, or you can be collecting somewhere around $57,000 a year until you get downgraded. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the information.
So that
I'll send you a message.
Yeah. Okay. Just stick it in the chat, and then everybody in the chat, if you want to save the chat, if you click on if you click on in the upper right corner, there is what looks like let's see, I believe, wait a minute here. Click on the chat, and then there are 3 dots in a vertical mode. If you click on those, it'll say save chat automatically. So that's always good. Okay, another thing, Cesar, that you should start to think about. Are you still there? Well,
yes, sorry, I had to.
Oh, no, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
During the time that you are 100% for that year, understanding that you will be downgraded in a year from now, and I know, like here within the state of Virginia, if you can get to 100% permanent and total, there are things like you don't have to pay property taxes on your house and all that stuff. And so I would be looking at other things that you might be able to claim, because it gives you time to submit those claims in before they are going to downgrade you. And since you would be a 60 and possibly a 30 and a 10, that puts you down into the $20,000 a year range versus a $49,000 a year. So and you earned all this stuff, so take advantage of it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bill O'Brien. Have a question?
Hello, Jim. Yep. How are you? Couple of things. First of all, going back to your email that you put out, and you talked about TERA, and we've talked about it tonight. I just want to compliment you and thank you. I have followed your directions, filled out the forms, and signed up for VA health care.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've already done that. And I had a hearing test down at Fort Belvoir a couple of weeks ago, and much to my wife's delight, I will be getting hearing aids, but that's part of the VA coverage. And if you were paying for that on the open market, that's pretty significant. So I wanted to thank you for that. So.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Now a question. You said down to Fort Belvoir, the hearing test was within and with the VA clinic in the military hospital, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Because I hear Fort Belvoir, and that's generally a military hospital, but it turns out around here the VA has a clinic inside the military hospital.
That's correct. It was at the VA clinic.
Right. Interesting. Well, good.
Good.
Yeah.
Second subject and a quick question. We talked a month or so ago about filing a claim for ischemic heart disease and hypertension.
Yeah.
And also chronic kidney disease, stage 3A. And my question is, when we're talking about nexus and all that good stuff,
right,
we talked about who would write a letter or who would document. And you said basically a nephrologist as opposed to a primary care physician.
Right. I would, because I mean, a primary care doc is, are they supposedly an expert in this?
Right.
I mean, unless the doctor put their title, Dr. James Jones Primary Care, versus I think it would have more weight if it's, Joe Deeks, nephrologist,
Right. Exactly.
That's kidney doctor. So, he must know exactly what he's talking about,
Exactly. So anyway, I went and saw a nephrologist.
Okay.
And it was interesting. What he did in his clinical notes from my appointment.
Okay.
The diagnosis, he said, was it was pretty simple. He said assessment. He said, and he talked about a number of things, but one was uh, problem, and it says CKD, chronic kidney disease, stage 3A. He said the patient has CKD due to hypertension, due to HTN.
Right.
Period.
Okay.
And it's like that is kind of like everything a nexus letter is supposed to do.
Right. Yes.
And
That.
I talked
Yeah.
to him about a letter, and he looked at me. He says, "You don't need a letter. I just told you everything you
Right.
need." You know.
Yeah. I mean that's and if it's current. So in the
Yep.
scheme of things, you are a Vietnam vet. If
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hypertension is presumptive.
Right.
Okay, that's
so that his clinical notes basically serve as the nexus.
yes. And so in the scheme of things now, in the hypertension, let's talk about hypertension. That one gets cute in the VA because hypertension, even if you have it and now you are taking pills and it's controlled, what will probably happen is that they have to take the service connection, but they'll probably award you zero.
Yes, that's correct.
But since it's service connected, then you can file for the CKD secondary to then hypertension.
That's correct. That's
And
the plan.
whatever they award, I don't know what it is. Now, I don't remember. I think I'm trying to remember how they rate because did I ever send you the 38 CFR Part 4 gigantic PDF that says how everything is rated?
Yeah, you sent me something.
I think they talk about EGFR or
Yep.
something like that. Well,
Yep.
if you've got some of the blood test
Yep.
that
I've got a history of that. Yep.
right, but I would get like the last two of the blood test and submit that as supporting documentation because I think the disability amounts are based upon that EGFR number.
Correct.
And I don't think they do it on stage 3A or 3B. Well,
No.
they might, but right. So that would be
I've got several years worth of data on the EG.
okay. Well, I would do the last two as ammo
Okay.
to because even if it's like 3 years ago, the VA doesn't look at that because it's residuals what you got today.
Right.
What are the how does it affect you today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Let me ask a follow-up on this. So I mentioned to the nephrologist that I've got some edema in my legs, just the swelling
Right.
in the legs, and he basically said that it was due to some medication that I was taking, and he changed the medication.
Okay.
And I said, well, that's fine. And this is all within the last 10 days.
Okay.
Coincidentally, I had an annual cardio appointment, my cardiologist.
Yep.
And I mentioned that the edema to him, and he took a look, and he said, and I told him what the nephrologist had said, and he said, well, that may be, but there's probably
Right.
about 5 other things that could cause the edema.
Yep.
And
Yep. Yep.
and here we go, with the tests, and it's something that one of the things you had mentioned to me. I'm scheduled for later this week is the nuclear stress test.
I was just about to go there. Yep.
I stole your thunder, and I'll get an echocardiogram last week. I had some blood work, so it sounds to me like both the nephrologist and the cardiologist say, well, the edema it could be caused by this, it could be caused by that. We don't really know what's causing it right now, and we'll try to find out. So ultimately, the question is,
okay,
is the edema, is that something that we can claim? And if so, how what would it go under, or do we just hold and wait until we see what they say? Because I think the edema is a whole nother, you know, another issue as far as claims go.
Just so happens with my triple bypass last year in March, out of that one, I got peripheral neuropathy, AFib, and edema in the legs. Okay. Now, in your case, remember, and this, I want to sort of defend the doctors, because you have to understand a doctor is a doctor, is not a doctor, is not a doctor, is not a doctor. Okay. A urologist is a surgeon. They do surgery. They are not a prostate cancer doctor. Okay. Okay. Cardiologist says, I do heart. I don't do kidneys. Okay. The kidney guy goes, or gal says, I do kidneys. So from the nephrologist point of view, edema can be caused by A, B, and C.
Right.
But as you know, edema can be caused by heart issues.
Yep.
Okay. So you just have to go from one to the other and figure out what's what. If you've got no heart issues, if you're perfectly good heart, then it's probably not the heart, right?
Right.
It's probably and with the kidneys. But if you've got heart problems, like remember Agent Orange, ischemic heart disease is presumptive.
Correct.
And so out of that one, the nuclear stress test will show up, and then the cardio echogram, like I just had for me, and found out I have a heart murmur, which is a leaking tricuspid valve. So in the scheme of things, but I am rated 100% for the ischemic heart disease.
Okay.
Because in that stress test, that will be also ammo. There's a thing called MET in there, and I forget what it stands for. And the numbers, there's a range of the different numbers, and I am at, I forget the bottom or the top of one, the range where you're 100. Otherwise, you're 30%. You're either 0, 30%, or 100.
Okay.
Well, I happen to ring the bell, and I'm 100.
So we should visit after I have these tests, which will be in the next 2-3 weeks.
Right. And that will tell you a lot. And as I said, out of the triple bypass, I also got peripheral neuropathy. Now, another thing you can do for the edema in the legs, go to the VA, okay? And tell them you have edema in the legs, and they'll say, do you wear compression socks? And you go, no, but I think I have to buy some. And hopefully they'll say, no, you don't. And they will give you a referral to prosthetics that will take you down there, measure you, and if they have them on site, you will get a half a dozen pairs, which cost $35 a piece, I found out, or else they will order them. And the little brown truck pulls up in a week, open the box, and there are 6 pairs of them. And also, if you do get them or you go to the hospital, there is a stretching machine or a stretching cage. Take it. Even though, but they say that you use it to put them on. I could never figure out how to do it, but the socks are so tight that I have to put it on that stretcher for about 3 days just to get it to the point that I can eventually pull it up on my leg. And if you'll stand by for just a second. The thing happens to look like this. Okay. And anything that they say you should take it. Say, no, I won't need that. Trust me.
Take it. Okay.
Although they will try to convince you to use it to then actually put it on, because there are handles that come out that you stick it on this thing and then you stick your foot in and then you pull it. I could never figure out how to do it, but it's a great stretching thing, especially in the beginning, and we're loosen up the top part of it.
Gotcha.
Because, I got a large and it was the right size, but I'll tell you what, every day I stick them on, and it actually helps too.
That was my next question. Do they help?
And it also helps for the peripheral neuropathy. It really does. I mean, it's amazing. So
super. Well, thank you, Jim. So we'll visit after the tests and go from there. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Rick Davis. I see that you joined it, and for the audience here, Rick is the founder of the AnCan Foundation, and I'd like to thank him for engineering this group. I think it's a great thing for us, and it's a great thing for me too, because it keeps me occupied and out of trouble most of the time. Okay, Rick, is there anything that any updates?
Well, the biggest update is the very, very sad news that I got when we got done with Colonel Boykin's ceremony yesterday.
Oh, okay.
That Ken Mason died on yesterday morning.
Oh, he did, Ken? Oh no.
And I did. There is an email in your box, Captain Jim, letting you know. We haven't sort of announced it because we need more information. In a nutshell, he was at a retreat in Colorado, a meditation and psilocybin retreat, and he had a stroke, and then synchronistically it turned out that he was septic. He had sepsis and he had septic shock. They called Gary. Gary flew out from Lincoln, and when he got there on Sunday, they told him that Ken wouldn't have more than the day, and then Ken passed away yesterday morning.
Oh, wow.
So it was quick, it was painless. For those of you who don't know Ken, I actually do believe he was the longest participant in AnCan, or what preceded AnCan. I think he arrived with us even before Len Sierra, because I have a record of an email to him in 2014, and I'm pretty certain he was in the group quite a bit the phone group when we were still meeting on the phone conference line. And he was just a remarkable individual. He cracked us all up. For those of you who do know him, he was a regular in Men Speaking Freely. He was a moderator in our low intermediate group, and then when we started the active surveillance group, he moved over to active surveillance and moderated that. He had 3 cancers, but they were all relatively benign. He had prostate cancer, kidney cancer, and bladder cancer. And he just had a great, he was very funny, very quick-witted. So, you know, it was very, it was very upsetting. And so not good news. It's something we didn't want to hear, which was also very true of his lousy jokes. So, but he was remarkable for he was what's the word I want, indefatigable with those jokes. He always had another one. I think he went out of his way to find them. He was 80 years old. I sure didn't look it, but he was 80 years old, and so that's that was it was a tough day. I do want to say that to Colonel Boykin that the services were amazing. You were amazing. Boykin Jr. was fantastic, or Boykin the Third was fantastic, I should say. And yeah, it was very, very touching. So I believe Richard Fisk was there. I don't know who else was, but I know Richard Fisk was because he told me. He wrote to me today.
Okay.
And Captain Fisk, but he doesn't like us to use captain. But he's a naval captain.
Right.
So that's that's amazing. And apologies to everybody. As you know, I actually am a moderator in the Care Partners group, and there are some local people that were in that group today because they're looking after somebody with glio, and it's taken us a year to get that person in, the care partner, into the group, and so I needed to be there as long as I could for them. So that's where we are. But hopefully everybody here is doing just fine. I see a few new faces. Welcome. Hopefully everybody's signed up. If you're not signed up, you're not getting an email, stick your email in the chat window and we'll make sure you do get signed up and you do get a reminder. We've got some great veterans programming coming up. Veterans Speaking Freely, which is the counterpart to this group, where we talk about everything except benefits and navigate and healthcare navigation. There is an art class coming up, a veterans only art class that will include sending out supplies. I think you've got to sign up for that pretty quickly. Again, if you need to know more, just let Jim know or let me know when we'll try and get you the supplies. So that's it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thank you very much. Sylvester, I see that you have joined us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Sylvester is a retired VA employee besides a veteran. So he lends a lot of expertise to it. Okay, we run out of, anybody have any questions that you would like to go over? Well, as I said, I've got some topics, as I said, which I started on doing the claims, because in the number of claims that I've helped folks do, it turns out the VA, the adjudicators sometimes do not look at or don't seem to look at all of the evidence that you will submit. That's how come in the claim template that I have, and you can have too, I say to put a list of the files and a explanation of each of the files that you are going to have processed in the claim. That way, at the time when the claim's adjudicated and your determination comes back, you can compare the evidence list with what you submitted. And you'd be surprised, in the past 2 claims that I've reviewed, they left out a number of the documents. Now, I don't know if they actually did review them and they threw them away, or they did, but they're supposed to look at what you have submitted and either accept it or not. So that's been a very interesting conclusion, which then forces us to go back to do either a supplemental claim or something else to try to get them to process it. Bruce, you have your hand up. You are muted.
It is my understanding in administrative law, and this is classic administrative law, that an adjudicator who may or may not be legally trained, but an adjudicator is required to keep a list, a separate list of evidence that was submitted,
right,
but not considered.
Oh, okay.
And if they fail to do that, that is grounds for reversing whatever decision they made. And you may not want to get it reversed, but it's grounds for doing it.
Right.
And then having it resubmitted with consideration or an explanation of why they didn't consider it, the evidence deleted. They cannot just throw it away, and they cannot just reject it. If they reject it, they can do that, but they have to give an explanation.
Right. That's the way. But also the thing in this supplemental claim that we are putting in, I cannot assert that they did not do their job, because you never in the government try to tell a person they didn't do their job, because that is not well received. So the way I'm couching it is, could it have been an IT problem because the person uploaded this into the quick submit, which out of quick submit somehow from an IT perspective, it has to get loaded into your actual account. So could it have been an IT problem? I don't know. Now,
well, I think that's a wise, very wise approach, because you don't want to tick them off.
Right. That's true. There is always an out, but then I am also couching it that maybe the person did not make a mistake. It's it is a inattention to detail, like the person stuck in the claim on a VBA 21-10210. And in the evidence, they claim that they happen to process the VBA 21-4138, which is not the same form, but somehow they got all of the information out of the 210 form, but they claim it was sitting on a 4138. So it kind of suspect that they were having a bad day or something. It takes another case that for these nexus letters, which are generally 1 to 2 pages, trying to submit those as separate PDF documents with separate file names could be asking for trouble. That's why I encourage people to embed them inside the claim. Okay, take the letter, which is generally a PDF from your doctor. If it's a 2-pager, you then take a PDF, and there's a facility to export each page as a picture, as a JPEG. And then in the continuation pages, which is a Word document, you can insert a picture into a Word document. And that works extremely well. And therefore, you try to cut down the number of files that they have to keep track of. And if they are going to process the 10210, everything could be just flowing from page to page, so they can't miss it. So it's just
That's a good approach.
So it's just it isn't something that is, I don't think, normally done, but it was a way that I was try. And the deal is, I try to write a claim from the perspective of this overworked government employee who is under pressure because last week I heard the VA is applauding because they only have 200,000 claims that they haven't processed yet.
My God.
Okay. This is down from 1 million, I think, like a year and a half ago. And that's when Congress really happened to jump them. And the secretary and all the folks were called up, and they had to testify before Congress, okay, in the Veterans Committee, and it was not pleasant. They took them over the coals. And that's the legislative branch sticking it to the executive branch.
That's right.
And I know that is not, they don't like to go up there, but they have to because the legislative branch controls the purse strings. Speaking about the purse strings, the VA got a $5.1 billion increase last month. So anyway.
Was that for new programming, or was that just as part of the cost of living increase?
It was a part because the TERA implication, because all those folks that are or still don't know that they are eligible for TERA haven't put in, like let's say that you're a vet, which is 20%, and you're a Gulf War vet, and you haven't heard about TERA. That means that only the health care you receive for what you are rated for is free. Otherwise, the VA gets to bill Medicare, they get to bill your private insurance provider, they get to bill TRICARE. And great. Well, great from the VA point of view. You get the health care, so who cares? But if you put in for TERA, the VA has to eat all of that stuff. And so they were showing the impact of TERA. And so they got the 5.1 billion. So,
Interesting.
yes, it is. Okay, it's about 9:45. Anybody else have any questions or any topics they would like to talk about? Tony Fig.
Yeah, Jim, I have a question on you had brought up earlier in the meeting that your disability begins the time that you have your first biopsy. And when we did the narrative for my claim on
Okay.
the 526EZ, we put down, I'm sorry, on the 21-10210, we put down
Yeah.
2022. But on the form 526EZ, we put 11/15/08 or 18. So there's
Well, that's how come it was first noticed,
right.
right? Because you were diagnosed way back then, right?
Yeah, that was the first biopsy.
Right. But for the sake of this claim, because they aren't going to then backdate it. So it would have been the date of the it would have been the intent to file date that they should have taken. Now, hopefully they did, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's the intent to file date, unless it was something that could be tied back to the 2018, which was a VA disability then, but that gets so complicated. So there's all these ins and outs.
When you filed the form, I mailed it in 2 months ago for the TERA. Do they send an acknowledgement? Because it's been about 2 months. I haven't heard anything from them.
I'm not quite sure how the notification for that happens, because what they do is to put a TERA memorandum in your file. So you might be able to go out to www.va.gov and look around and see if there's a document they entered for you that says something about a TERA memorandum. And it should be in the list of documents like they send you each year, you know, your pay jump or something, or the pay that you're still 80% or 90%. I would think it's there someplace.
Would it be on my claim submission that I did?
No.
No.
No, but you are now rated 50% or greater, right?
No, I haven't had any determination yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then it should be done as a part of your determination. So it should come back at the time that they send you exactly how much you get. Look on, it's generally on page 2 under evidence.
Even though they're separate entities, the VA health compared to the VA disability?
Well, actually, this will show up within the benefit side as a part of the claim, but that work for the TERA is done on the healthcare side. And there's also something called, I think, an ILR or something, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but I think it's a part of, it's an individual something record, and I have to look up that one.
But the healthcare side would put something in the VA disability.
Well, actually, the disability side, as a part of the adjudication process, I guess they team up with the healthcare side for the TERA evaluation.
Okay.
And then it's reported as a part of the claim.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
Appreciate
just
it.
look for it. And then after that, you know, as I said, at the time that you get that. Now, do you have any of the military installations around you? Anywhere close?
Yeah, there's a couple that are, you know, within an hour.
Okay, well, I would still, okay, on the VA healthcare ID card, under the picture, it'll say something about VA entitled healthcare or VA, yeah, let me see here. VA health, right here. Let me get my card. Da, 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 da. Okay. VA healthcare enrollee, and then below that it's called it will have service connected. And the service connected is your ticket onto a military installation, shopping at the commissary, and the post exchange. Okay. And it also allows you to order online from AFES, Army Air Force Exchange Service. So it can come
Where
in
do you
handy.
get one of those cards?
I would go, well, actually, if there's a VA hospital, that's probably and we're the best place to do it. You may be able to get it at a VA clinic, or you can apply there and it will come in the mail. But hospitals will do those. Okay,
But
Dan.
doesn't your claim have to be approved first before you can get that, the health care?
Well, I would wait until it does, because if you don't do that, then you will have to apply for the health care, and since you've got no rating, then you have to fill out the 10-10-10EZ form, and since you don't have a rating, then there's a part that they may force you put in a financial disclosure. Okay.
But that I'm part of the PACT Act, so they.
Well, still until it's adjudicated,
Okay.
then you are just a veteran. Okay, just an ordinary. Now, after you are adjudicated, then because you're a part of the PACT Act, then you will be entitled to a TERA, and everybody will then know that. Except
Okay.
you still need service connected, even if it's zero. You have a service connected disability, even if it's zero. Okay, no problem. Remember, if you die of a service connected ailment, the wife gets a pension.
Right.
So, and it's on the death certificate, unless you have been disabled for more than 10 years at 100%. I just crossed 8 years. I got to live another 2 for the wife. So,
all right,
okay.
thank you.
Any more questions? It's 9, just about the witching hour of 10 o'clock. Any more?
What is, this is
Yeah.
Bruce again. What's that number for the It ends 1000 for the
Intent to file.
intent to file.
Intent to 800-827-1000.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
and it is the number for the VA if you've got any questions. It could be a question on how to fill out a form, what's in your file. It's just like a help desk.
Okay.
For the VA, and they're generally all around the country, so you don't know where. I got a person in West Virginia once. I got another one in Alaska. Hey, and they were good too. I mean, they were great. So,
Thank
okay,
you.
folks, I'll see everybody on the 15th, we hope. And if you have questions, send me an email and I will be happy to answer. Okay, and do not forget to save the chat if you would like to keep it and it goes down someplace on your computer. I know where mine goes. Okay?
I don't see it.
Okay, under chat if you bring up the chat, okay?
Yeah.
Is there at the top, is there 3 vertical dots?
Yes. No. Horizontal.
Okay, well then click on those and see if it says automatically save the chat.
Vertical. Vertical.
Well, it could be
I'll
horizontal.
find it.
Okay,
I'll
well,
find it.
I am going to shut off recording.